I'm Paul Ryan, I live in Thirroul and we are currently in my studio. I was born in New Zealand. I've been in Wollongong from about the age of 8 and have lived in other places on and off briefly, but I've always come back. I think I first discovered the Northern Illawarra when I was about 15, and I went to a new school and I had schoolmates who lived here, and I would come up every weekend on the train with my surfboard and go surfing. And there was just something about coming around the corner from Bulli into Thirroul and you just saw this escarpment. And I knew then that there was something very special about this area, and I fell in love with it from that moment. Another important area for me with painting is portrait painting, and also painting about the peoples of the Illawarra and the early history, the colonial history of the Illawarra. Every year I paint for the Archibald, and that's my main sort of portrait for the year. And this year I've been painting Noah Taylor, who's a very well-known Australian actor. He's also a musician and a visual artist. So I met Noah through the gallery that I show with in Sydney, Olsen Ellen, because he also shows there. And so that was my sort of point of connection with him. And turns out that he also liked my work, which was nice. And so we've since swapped paintings, and we've met, and I've photographed him and painted him for the Archibald for this year. Ever since I was young, I loved drawing. I've always loved making art. And I don't think from an early age I really thought about careers or what you do in the future. At the age of 22, I went to the Wollongong University and commenced the Bachelor of Creative Arts degree. And once I started that course and realised how much fun it was and how much I loved making artwork, that's when I realised that this is the career for me. Bert Flugelman was my sculpture teacher. His idea of teaching was to go into this sculpture studio and just do his own work. And every now and then, if you really pestered him, he'd actually say something about what you're doing. But what he was teaching through really just showing how he worked. And so you looked at his life and the incredible sort of way his work had developed and how he'd become successful with his work. And so I think he was a mentor in that way. Research isn't something that you necessarily do separate to your practice. Strangely, it's the act of making work daily and being in here daily for hours and hours and working. It's through that ideas and inspiration come. It's not something you can go and sit down and manufacture. It comes through daily life. It comes through watching the news. It comes through seeing films or reading great literature or listening to amazing music. All this feeds in, and you often have this sort of bank of potential ideas. And sometimes, you'll plant that idea and it'll grow into something, and sometimes you'll attempt to plant it and it just won't work. You need to be looking for new ways to make work, new ideas. You need to be challenging yourself, and if I'm not interested, if I'm not getting excited, then I cannot expect anyone else to. Surfing for me does a myriad of things. For starters, it gets me out in the nature, in fresh air, in the ocean, exercising, and that alone is brilliant. There's something about riding waves, catching the energy of the universe, which is a particularly special feeling. And when I surf this coast, I'm constantly looking at the landscape as well, and the different weather systems and the different light you get at different times of year and in different weathers. And so that actually feeds directly into the way I paint the landscape. And for me, what's interesting about it is the first Europeans to sail up the coast of Australia, that's what they saw. And so, in a way, that it feeds into the narrative of the ideas I have about working about colonisation as well. An artist is a novelist with paint, basically. So, I paint about the colonisation of the northern beaches here, which there's actually nothing written about. Between Thirroul and Stonewall, there's this great void. So I can come in as a visual artist and extrapolate from other historical events around the country, and I can put all those characters and the landscape together, and like a novelist, I can make my own narrative. And that's the fun of being an artist, I think.